All right, let's get everybody up in here before we're going to start our Thursday show. Happy December 30th. I'm still not caught up on sleep, running on coffee and dreams and just pure hate. Welcome in, guys. It is Thursday morning, 6:33 a.m. And sorry, just having a little fun with it. Still sleep deprived, but getting by at work super late last night, trying to catch up on everything. And of course, the systems that I'm using, like one of them crashes. So it's like, well, I can't get this task done. Hey, can I get this? I need to get this up and running. Okay, we'll get back to you on January 5th. Oh my God.
Yeah, you don't get any work done during the holidays.
Nope. It's frustrating, but you know who is getting work done? Mile High Huddle. And Scott and I are joining you guys today. Scott, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. My sleep was interrupted by giant thunderstorms and flashing lights. Kids sleep right through. People always say, where do the kids get the energy? I'm like, have you ever seen the way kids sleep? You know, until they're about 15, you can grab a kid by the ankle and drag them around and they're going to stay asleep. When's the last time you slept like that? So, I felt better, but you know, that's what I call this nap in a cup. See the top of that one? That was nice and full. So it won't be like that soon.
Well, there you go. I'm already halfway through my first cup. Got my reserve here. And speaking of reserves, we're going to talk a little bit of the sick bug going around, some information on the Broncos in that regard. But matters of business first, guys. Of course, this is Broncos for Breakfast. We are entering week 17 of the season, and we've been going strong, 3 shows a week since the beginning of the season. And gosh, we've been at it since March last year. So we're coming up on a year here pretty soon. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining us for these morning shows. You guys can follow Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. I know you guys got some Christmas money from Grandma. If you have a little bit of extra cash right now, make sure you're heading up to huddleuppod.com to check out our gear. We got always all the hats for the shows, the coffee mug, the beanie, et cetera, et cetera. It's all good. And you can make sure you check it out at that link. If you are on Facebook, please join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Become a supporter, as well as /Mile High Huddle pod. Apple users listening after the fact, or you have an iTunes just in general, go to Huddle Up. You can find it there. We're one of the top ones, Huddle Up Podcast, and go down to the comments, leave a 5-star review, say Nick sent you. I really like the ones where they disparage my football takes, but you love everybody else. You know what? I'm fine with that. That's great. I really like it when people can have disagreements with me because it pushes me to be better and reflect on my own takes, and that leads to better content for everyone, in my opinion. Maybe I get a little less sleep, but that's okay. So make sure you head in there, leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. If you are on YouTube or you have YouTube at all, or if you don't have YouTube, go create one. First off, what are you? It's 2021. But make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe, like, and share to this channel, Mile High Huddle. Also go to Scott's channel, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy, where Scott and I are going to have a lot of draft overlap talk because the Broncos and the Falcons are neck and neck, whereas they are drafting, and also a lot of the needs as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I guess we're going to have to figure out what the Broncos scheme might look like if they do move on from Fangio. That could change things, but it is officially, for me, draft season.
There's a decent chance the Broncos and Falcons could end up with the same record. Real good chance. I figure 8-9 would be the most likely scenario for that to happen. I think, right? Because I think the Falcons are 7-8 and the Broncos are 8-7. I think the Falcons have a better chance of winning one of the next 2 than the Broncos do. The Saints at home versus the Chargers on the road and the Chiefs. But we will see. We'll get into that for sure today.
Yeah, we got Sean's in the house. Good morning. How high is the possibility that new ownerships will clean house? It's a weird situation where the ownership is going to come after essentially what the offseason has completed. So I think it's a possibility after next season, especially if they keep Vic Fangio, which I think is a long shot right now. But I think you could see it down the line. I also think the ownership will give George Payton a chance. So it's probably, you're looking more like at 2023, where if things fall off the rail again next season, then you could see some movements. We got Colin Wood coming in. Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to agree with you. A lot of the major changes will probably happen before the ownership gets done.
Yeah. So,
what are the chances they come in and clean house? I don't know that they want to come in and, it's not like the Broncos are breaking the Broncos. It's not that they're broken. There's a lot of good in place there. I mean, from a high level, they always say, it's easier to change out however many players you have on a roster, depending on the team. It's easier to change, one guy, the coach, and a couple of assistants than it is to flip the 53. The 53 roster is not bad. So, and you've got the infrastructure, the fan base, you've got everything there. So clean house. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a new coaching staff, and that will probably happen before the ownership happens.
Yeah, I agree. The Broncos aren't broken, but based on the quarterback discourse I've seen on the social medias, maybe the fan base is broken right now. But we're gonna get you guys fixed. That's what building Broncos for breakfast. We'll get you guys right. Colin Wood, from what I understand, the earliest there would be a new ownership is late spring. Correct. We got DWI guys. Ethan, morning, gents in Broncos country. Good to see you. EJ, good morning, Nick and Scott. We got Travis coming with stars. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Hope you all have your coffee and staying warm. Nick, I like one mock draft where Denver actually takes Devin Lloyd at 11. Oh, man, Travis, you are giving me catnip this morning. Oh, we have stuff to talk about with the Broncos playing the Chargers? Hell no. Who cares? It's draft season, baby. I'm stoked. And maybe we won't have these picks, but for now, we're going to live in the world of make-believe and talk a little bit of draft. Scott, have you watched much Devin Lloyd? Are you aware?
I haven't watched him at all.
Oh, man. Okay, well, I am a big fan. I know I am not the biggest proponent of taking non-pass rushing linebackers in the first round because typically you can find them in bounty day 2, especially in this draft class. I like a lot of the guys that are going to be in day 2 for the linebacker position. Devin Lloyd's my linebacker 1 for the Broncos right now with this scheme. He's actually, I would say he's a 5-tool linebacker. He can play the box. He can play sideline to sideline. He can blitz. He can play zone. He can play man, which is outstanding for a linebacker. If the Broncos are going to keep in this Vic Fangio style defense, I think I would like him a lot. And obviously, things could change with a Dan Quinn defense or somebody else coming in here. But Lloyd next to Browning would be very fun. I think he's the talent. He's a talent level to the extent where if the Broncos are picking 10 to 15, I'm listening. He's going to end up there for me.
Quinn ran. I haven't watched him as much with the Cowboys, but he ran a base 4-3 in Atlanta. So, a more versatile outside linebacker makes sense. He doesn't have to rush. He needs to do a little bit more in coverage and holding down the block and sealing and that type of stuff where you're trying to get your pressure from your front 4.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We got Peter coming in also with stars. Peter over in Cambodia. Hope you're doing well. Hope your holidays were good, Peter. Are the Chargers really that much better than the Broncos? The Broncos won last time around. The Chargers, this is a matchup league, guys. Obviously, when you rank teams, they're going to be fine, or you're going to have the overall rankings. But one team might match up well against one team where they're, on paper, the better team against most squads, but they just really struggle against this one matchup. And the Chargers are absolutely, positively terrible against the run. They are so weak up the middle. This team, we talk about the positional value again. We're coming back to draft talk already. It's time, guys. I'm sorry. Jordan Davis. If that Chargers team would trip over themselves trying to get Jordan Davis for the Brandon Staley defense, because he would completely change what they can do on first and second down and probably take their 32 ranked EPA per play DVOA run defense from 32 to 22 just by himself, because that's how important he is for a run defense. So Broncos match up well with the Chargers because the Broncos should be able to run the ball against them on will, just like we saw them the last time they met up.
No, and I just watched the first half of the Texans just running right through the Chargers.
Their defense is so bad, man.
And the Broncos are a better running team than the Texans easily. Yep. Royce Freeman looked like an animal. Royce Freeman is an animal, but who would you rather have, Javonte Williams or Royce Freeman? The concern for me is, I kind of joke, the old saying, the immovable object, et cetera. So I kind of flip that. This is the movable object meeting the resistible force. Something's got to give. So you got bad offense against bad defense. Typically, the bad defense is better than a bad offense. A bad offense is usually just bad. So do you trust this offense to get it going? 13 points, and one of them was a gimme. The offense didn't get in the end zone last week against the Raiders. The Raiders aren't known for big-time defense. You think about it, and you're like, okay, the running game should work. You got Drew Lock passing. This should work. But do you trust them to go on the road against a Chargers team that was just embarrassed and put points on the board? Because the Chargers are going to put points on the board. A good offense against good defense, the good offense is going to get their points. But, it is a good matchup theoretically, but do you trust the Broncos right now? They're a 7-point dog on the road. That's a big number.
Yeah.
So, going back to Peter, are they that much better? They're not that much better, but they're capable of playing more consistently at a high level right now than the Broncos are playing. And there's a reason they're a 7-point favorite.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, obviously the Chargers have one of the best young quarterbacks in football. Maybe sometime this offseason we'll have to get into the Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert debate. But he's incredible. Vic Fangio has seemed to have had his number, but the tools are there with Herbert, and that team is getting better there. The defense, the front seven specifically, has been bad. And back to the linebacker conversation, Kenneth Murray is the exact reason why I'm very scared of getting somebody like a linebacker in the first round, because it's all about probability and making the most sense of your investment. And if you get a linebacker in the first round, they're Micah Parsons, you're happy about it, man. You are over the moon. But if you trade up like the Chargers did and take Kenneth Murray, who has been dog duty on that, just terrible for them. Not
Don't
only
hold back, Nick.
He's just dog chasing cars. No idea what he's doing. And he's a good athlete, but just I don't know. Or the Devin Bush trade, was that worth it for the Steelers, or do you think they could have used those extra picks and fortified the offensive line? What are you doing trading up in the top 10 for a linebacker, a non-pass rushing linebacker? So we'll see. Travis Weber coming in. Timmy P and two others are on the sick bug list. That is very true. The other guys are Calvin Anderson, who I don't believe is activated yet after suffering the injury he had in week 13, week 11. He suffered it a while ago. It was when Bowles was out for a bit. Calvin Anderson suffered that injury. And then also, it might have been the Chargers game, actually, where he got hurt. But and then also Caden Stearns is hurt. So you're losing a little bit of depth in the secondary and special teams. Luckily, Kareem Jackson is out there. We'll see if Ronald Darby plays. I know he's nursing a injury that he suffered last week, but Broncos are injuries starting to pile up on the back end, and now you have the sick bug kind of running around too. And on the same thought there, just for, I guess, an announcement, I think the league protocols have changed to the extent where you might see Mike Williams and Chris Harris Jr. and somebody else for the Chargers back this week, who would have been out, but now because of everything going on with the new variant, with testing, everybody testing positive, the league changed protocols. So you might see those guys back that were otherwise going to be out, and that really would be a huge benefit for the Chargers.
Yeah, I think the Players Association in particular is getting sick of everybody testing positive without being sick.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, enough. Let's use some common sense here, which, I'm all for. Ethan coming in. So this is a running game week, which means Shermer will pass. Smack my head. Drew was asked yesterday about the play action, how he's comfortable, and he says it starts with a running game. It does. It absolutely does. So, theoretically, I think the single best way I could look at this game, if I could see what would be perfect for the Broncos and a Drew Lock game, would be Carr's game against you the first time you played the Raiders. Where it was running game, deep shot. Running game, deep shot. And it was like 20 yards per completion. That'd be awesome. If they can't stop the run and then you can suck in the safeties and linebackers, that'd be the way to go. I think he only passed 22 or 25 times and had like 350 yards. It was insane.
Yeah.
That would be ideal. I'm not sure who it was. It may have been Pete. No, it wasn't Peter. It may have been Clayton. Let me see. Comes in and says, "Oh, it was Clayton." And Ethan, appreciate you for sure. Locke says 2 great games, so we keep him. You keep him next year, unless you get an offer that's 4th round or higher, and you've already got plans. But yeah, he's cheap, he's serviceable. You keep him, absolutely. Unless he's a distraction in the locker room or something like that. But he's worth more to you having on the roster than a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick. We were talking last night just about his trade value isn't that great right now. And, Chad and Zach kind of disagreed, but then actually, in my opinion, agreed. They're like, you could get a conditional 7th or a conditional 6th. I'm like, yeah, that ain't much for a quarterback. You just made the point for them. I think he's worth more to you on the roster. So, yeah, I expect to see Drew Lock on the Broncos next year, unless he pushes for a trade or you're better off addition by subtraction because he's a distraction, which we haven't seen. We haven't seen that.
By all accounts, he seems like a very good teammate and a good dude. So that's why a lot of people are cheering for him, and I'm cheering for him too. I hope he has a great 2 games, like Clayton says. Also, good morning, Clayton. Clayton messaged me this morning asking me what time we were going live. So good to see you as we hit the go live button. And you made the point too. You're saying, why would you get rid of him? I could see George Payton, giving Drew Lock a tip of the cap where it's like, listen, we're not going to be putting you in a position to be the starter here. We're looking to upgrade. And Drew's like, okay, well, I want a chance to start somewhere.
Yeah,
Then you could see it.
then you do. Yeah, if he asks for it,
Yep.
you do right by him. That happens.
Yep.
The Panthers could have had Teddy Bridgewater and sat there. Teddy asked for a trade. They respected Teddy enough to make a move for him where they ended up eating most of the costs, and Denver got him for virtually nothing. Out of respect for Teddy Bridgewater also, and to clear a lane, I guess, a little bit for Sam Darnold, for whatever that was worth. We can get into that later too.
There's an alternate reality out there where the Panthers eat a lot of Sam Darnold's money and they trade him to the Broncos for the same that they traded Teddy for. Just hilarious. I mean, sometimes I like to talk about bad scenarios just so I can laugh and stare back into the void.
I'd like to see Teddy back in New Orleans.
Yeah.
A quarterback in a Sean Payton system is going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I saw Jameis Winston coming up yesterday. I'm like, no, you don't want Jameis Winston. He's almost like the ceiling of Drew Lock is Jameis Winston. High turnovers, high. I don't think Drew's going to throw 30 interceptions for goodness sakes, but a 40 touchdown, 25 interception guy. That's a good season for Jameis Winston. That's not who you want. Is he going to look better under Sean Payton? Yeah. He was playing the best of his career because Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints have a good system and they let quarterbacks thrive. Don't overpay for that guy. Don't make the same mistake that the Carolina Panthers did and think that the quarterback in a Sean Payton system is going to come be the same quarterback for you.
So you're saying that we shouldn't go after Taysom Hill? Man, I'm crushed. Malcolm Brown, $5. Good morning, India Malcolm. Whose liver could survive a Shermer play calling predictability drinking game? Captain America. That's about it. I saw guinea pigs also have something about their metabolism where they can't get drunk really. So maybe you have
we've got 2 guinea pigs in our house and they eat their weight in food a day. It's insane. So I believe that with the metabolism on them, you put in whatever you put in a handful of carrots to a guinea pig this big, those carrots are toast. They're gone. They're pretty amazing. I think we said hey to Lawrence.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Good morning, Lawrence.
In case we had good morning and thanks for the stars.
Happy holidays. I hope your family had a great holiday season.
And Wyatt came in with some stars too. Let me scroll down here just a little bit. So I know what happened, but I'd love to snag Tyler Linderbaum to help shore up this horrible O-line. The man is an animal in the trenches. There may be some slight bias in this selection. As much as a bias for the Iowa, I think Nick's distaste for taking an interior lineman in the top 15 might be stronger.
You're right. I try to be very guarded against my draft analysis for the Hawkeyes to Broncos. Like I was not pounding the table for Noah Fant or TJ Hawkinson. I was not pounding the table for Josie Jewell. I thought those were good players, but I try to be overcritical in that sense.
Say sometimes you overcompensate. We're all biased. That's what bias is what makes up our personalities. We're all biased.
Mm-hmm.
But do you recognize them and can you correct? And sometimes we overcorrect. A lot of times. You see that in commentating.
Yeah.
It's like the Ohio State fans hate it when Kirk Herbstreit does an Ohio State game. They feel like they're too tough on him. He's probably overcorrecting to a certain extent because he's an Ohio State guy.
Yeah. And
we're all human.
Totally. My mother is a teacher, and I always felt like she was tougher on me than a lot of other people. And it's probably that exact thing. And I probably inherited
being a coach's kid. As coaches, we say to our kids what we wish we could say to everybody else.
Yep. But Tyler Linderbaum, not Balm from Wyatt, although my lips are a little dry. Could use some Tyler Linderbaum. But the center position, I just don't know if it's worth the investment this cycle. I think that Lloyd Cushenberry is fine. I mean, you saw the difference from maybe it's Austin Schlottman is that poor, but I think that Lloyd Cushenberry, for as cheap as he is for 2 more seasons, I don't think there's a reason to invest a first-round pick at the center position. Now, if you are switching to the Kyle Shanahan wide zone scheme and you don't think Cushenberry has the ability to reach block in that wide zone scheme like Tyler Linderbaum, where that's going to be really important for you to run the inside and outside zone together, then maybe you could start to talk about it, especially if you're drafting let's say the Broncos win one of these next 2 games and falls to like pick 16. That's really possible, guys, given how packed everything is in the middle right now.
Mhm.
And he's best player available. Okay, it's when you're taking him in the top 10, it gets me a little bit
You should
scuzzy
make
because
the top 10.
yeah,
You're not going to be that high.
I
There's too much. At 11. Well, you go 0-2. You lose these next 2 games. I guess you could.
there's
So,
the Broncos
and
probably will
your
not pick
schedule.
higher than
Yeah, you
9.
could. You could have a top 10 pick.
Yep, it's possible.
You have a top 10 pick. You want to trade it. That's how you want to get your quarterback.
Unless there's a really good if you can't get that quarterback there, I could see them investing in a pass rusher or a tackle because those are 2 positions that the Broncos
Yep.
have been. They could use an investment there, and that's where the needs are kind of lining up in that area. But Tyler Linderbaum, I like him. If you're running a wide zone scheme, you're picking like pick 15 to, or let's say 14 to 20, and you love him, then I can talk myself into it. I probably would not do that. I think I could probably find a defensive back, a pass rusher, defensive lineman, or an offensive tackle, maybe even a quarterback in that area where, like, the Patriots just sat there at 15 and let Mac Jones fall to them. They didn't give up any additional resources to go get him, and he looks like he's going to be fine for that rookie contract. I'm not in love with this class, but if one's there at 15, I could get behind it as long as you're not investing in the next 4 years in that guy without bringing in competition or looking elsewhere. But maybe. I like Linderbaum a lot.
Yeah. The idea that we owe it to this guy, get that out of your head. Just get it out of your head. That guy owes it to you.
I
He
have a
owes it to
walk-on
you to show he
mentality.
belongs. It works the other way around.
Yep.
Lawrence comes back in with some stars. So would you guys be upset if we don't go out and get a coach or a quarterback this offseason? And if we don't, will it be enough to not be last in the division next season?
So you're saying
Yes and no. I think you're going to have at least one new quarterback. I have a hard time picturing Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock being on the roster next year. Teddy doesn't have a contract. Will he get a big dollar offer from somewhere else? I don't think so. We've talked about this and we've seen that, that there was talk that his agent was coming out saying that, for him to sign early and forego free agency, he wanted 25 a year. Not going to happen. He's got coming off a couple of concussions and a meh couple of seasons. The best part of his entire resume since he had his leg injury was in New Orleans, and that's how he parlayed that into a big contract. Before that, he was on 2 consecutive one-year deals at $6 and $7 million. That's where Teddy is. Teddy Bridgewater is a $6 and $7 million stopgap backup insurance policy. That's where he is. Do you want to bring him back as a starter? No. Fangio coming back. You can do better, right? You've got to be able to do better than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think if I see us like we're going to keep him for another year, okay, well then what are you going to do at the quarterback position? It would be more interesting next year if Locke was the de facto starter. That would definitely be more interesting. But otherwise, you'd kind of be like, man, there's 10,000, 15,000 no-shows in the seats already. That speaks volumes. It does.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes. You've got to have some change. There's got to be a reason to get people excited for next year. There has to be.
Yeah, the only way I would be okay with Fangio coming back is if you had some very strong feelings that you could pair his defensive mind and just let Russell Wilson / Aaron Rodgers say, okay, you pick the offensive coordinator and you're in charge of the offense. We'll just let Vic Fangio handle the defense. And it's kind of, separation of church and state there with the offense and the defense.
Which is almost what Vic did with Shermer. He just picked the wrong guy.
Yes, exactly. Also, didn't have the quarterback, which would be, I mean, I know there's a lot of offensive coordinators like Kyle Shanahan and whatnot that are pretty good, not regardless of the quarterback, but you don't have to have an elite quarterback. But if you have, it's the John Fox,
but you
Peyton
can
Manning
elevate.
scenario.
You can elevate the quarterback position a little bit. What was Tannehill before he got into a better situation? Someone like him.
Yeah, Tannehill's really regressed since Derrick Henry went down. Always expected, but a lot more 2 safety shells, and those deep shots are gone. Who'd have thought? Travis Weber coming in again. Thank you, Travis. With all the coaching rumors and quarterback rumors, who do you all would consider? Quinn, etc., Matty Ice, Wilson, Rodgers, which seem realistic, or even new ownership? Do they stick with Fangio? Also, an article that sees Teddy ends up back in Minnesota. I feel like I'm in the minority, and I put this out there on Twitter, and I got my head chewed off. But if the Broncos lose out on Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, I would honestly be fine making a play at Matt Ryan if he was available. I know the contract stuff is dicey, or Kirk Cousins. I think both those guys are a step forward than what you had this season. And if it's those guys versus taking a class in this 2022 group, which I'm really trying to fall in love with one of these quarterbacks. I'm having a hard time with it. Or gosh, then you're in the Andy Dalton, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor mold. I think I would rather give up a first round pick to go get Kirk Cousins / Matt Ryan than sign one of those guys, unless your plan is all in on 2023. But if it's 2022, I think I'd rather go down to take one of those guys. But we'll see. Quarterback or coach wise, Hackett, Quinn, Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich, all guys come to mind. I really like what Dennis Allen is doing in New Orleans as well. I wish they would consider him, but we'll see.
Matt Ryan throws for 4,500 yards in his sleep.
I know.
I mean, he's got almost 400 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You give him these weapons and protect him a little bit in a defense, and you're really, really, especially as low as the bar is set, you would really, really like Matt Ryan. And Atlanta fans that are vocal but don't know football would say, wow, I guess I underestimated him. Yeah, you have. Matt Ryan would be really good. We were asked yesterday, Nick, who would you rather have for next year, Quinn or Moore from the Cowboys? Which one of the? And I said for this team, with an established team, a veteran team, I'd rather have the older, more established veteran coach. I'd rather have Quinn. If I take this team and I say, okay, I got a 2-3 year window with this team, and I want to take a shot with this team, I'd rather have Quinn and have him go and get his offensive coordinator, and because he'd be the type that would help turn that over, and give that offensive coordinator autonomy. And go take a shot. Now, if I'm looking maybe a little bit more long-term, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I've already got my young quarterback, I'd probably rather have Moore. But 32, 33-year-old Kellen Moore coming into a veteran team that's looking to make a run, I don't know that that's the best environment for a young rookie head coach, even if he has that kind of upside. I think you could possibly take a step back. I think you'd see some of the veterans buck up against that a little bit. And so I think the veteran coach who would come in, and again, you'd have to nail your offensive coordinator hire, but you've got George Payton to help with that too. And you've got a great nucleus. Get the quarterback. I'd rather have Quinn in that case.
It all comes down to the quarterback for me. It really is that simple. If you're bringing in a veteran, heck yes, give me Quinn, because then I'm not as worried about the development or how everything is running there offensively. If you're bringing in a rookie, though, I'd probably rather have Moore, because I'm going to want to have somebody who is nurturing, bringing along that quarterback, invested in that quarterback, more involved with that quarterback than what you'd need with the vet. So again, it's the economy, stupid. It's the quarterback, stupid. It comes down to what's going on with the quarterback position. Peter Middleton coming in with stars again. Thank you so much, Peter. So Munchak is to blame for this poor offensive line, or is it the poor recruiting that hasn't given him a chance? I don't know if the offensive line is exactly poor. They had a poor showing this last week, but I would say on the whole, they're league average.
They're
which
okay.
is, yeah, it's
meh.
Yeah, exactly. Some of it is just the talent on hand. I mean, I think you got to give him credit for the improvements you've seen from Cushenberry. Bowles is, they talk about meh. He's meh as well. But we talked about it to start the season. If you saw Quinn Miners this year, something went wrong on the offensive line, and something did go wrong with Glasgow getting hurt, and Glasgow hasn't been right all season. So that's one to blame. So I think Munchak is fine. Maybe he is not this offensive line demigod, offensive line coach demigod that he was built up to be. But I think that he's fine, and I'm not that worried about him, especially coming off. I think we have a little bit of recency bias. That Raiders game was bad, but it was probably always going to be bad regardless, because when you lost Cushenberry, when you did with him, Reisner making the checks, with Locke in there also, you lost all that stability. It was probably always going to be bad. And then also Shermer kind of handcuffed Locke to be like, you're not making any changes. You're going to just protect the ball first and foremost. And when the box is loaded, we're still going to run right into it. That's what it looks like when your offensive line was as decimated up front as the Broncos.
So, and Jeremy has a question. We got Cush in the third. How would you guys feel about another third on a center for depth competition? If the guy's there, absolutely.
Yep.
Interior line, center guard. I think you need to go that direction.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. I'm all for it, Jeremy. And then let me see. I had another question coming in here. Well, Dennis, the YouTube ones show up a lot brighter. I can see those without having to scroll back and look back and forth on here. Dennis comes in and he asks, will Seattle fire Pete Carroll before trading Wilson? I haven't paid that close attention to it, but 5-11 is on the horizon for them. Is Carroll done? Is he out?
He's the oldest coach in football. It's his first losing season in a while, but that team, they really might need a rebuild type of guy. And is Carroll going to want to stick around for a team that doesn't have a first round pick, might be losing their quarterback, et cetera, et cetera? I could see a mutual parting of the ways there with Carroll in Seattle. It's a tough situation, man. This Seattle team is held up by sticks right now. They're really bad in the trenches. Their secondary is dreadful. They have a terrible defensive line. I don't understand. Do they still have that same general manager, Schneider, where he's just drafting who knows who in the first round anyway? I guess when you're that bad in drafting in the first round, who cares if you're giving up first round picks?
Though. I've been giving Thomas Dimitrov hell for 15 years for 5 picks for Julio Jones. That was nothing compared to what they gave up for Jamal Adams. Good Lord.
Who is essentially just a weak side linebacker. So it's I don't know. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but you have to know comes back to positional value. How much of an impact is that guy actually going to make on the whole? That's why I'm also not trading up in the first round in the top 10 for non-quarterbacks. It's all about the return on that investment. But it's definitely possible they'll fire Carroll before trading Wilson. I do wonder if Wilson's stock is trending down a little bit. He's been hurt the end of most seasons. Honestly, I might be starting to. I used to think it was a little bit overrated, but the small quarterback conversation, we're seeing a trend this season, especially with the 18-game season, or the 17-game season, 18 weeks, that the small quarterbacks are maybe getting a little dinged up and not being as long. Kyler Murray.
There's not a ton of small quarterbacks anyway. And then as soon as you take Drew Brees out of the equation for the last 20 years, trust me, I heard that from every 5'11" white kid in suburbia, his dad. Well, Drew Brees is 5'11". Yes, I know. Drew Brees is one of a million. You're not. Mm-hmm. Let's move on.
Yeah.
But you can always go to the exception. Always. Mm-hmm. But I like to follow. Kyler Murray is a small guy. Yeah, he is. And Kyler Murray is one of the best football players to ever play the game. Maybe the greatest high school football player of all time. The exception. So again, big, strong, and fast never goes out of style, Nick.
Yeah. You can see it. It's a
but I think Wilson, to answer the question, I think Wilson lasts longer in Seattle than Pete Carroll.
Yeah, definitely. But to the point of the small quarterbacks, this year, maybe it's totally anecdotal and way too small of a sample size, but Russell Wilson last year and this year, starting off good, fall off dramatically. Kyler Murray, weeks 1 through 6, MVP, fallen off pretty dramatically since then. Baker Mayfield, also smaller, injured, not as good. Maybe that's enough reason to be somewhat skeptical of somebody like a Matt Corral, who is barely 6 foot and has a tiny base and frame. I don't know, but again, that's not a huge sample size, but it's something to consider. So we'll see going forward. I'm afraid to put this flag down, but my guy for this draft class might end up being Desmond Ridder. I kind of like the tools that he has, and I think you could operate a Colts style offense with him to great success. That means you have to have the offensive line as well, which not easy, but I think my guy might end up being Desmond Ridder. Travis Tarbox coming in saying, "Morning, fellas, Denver Broncos for life." Good morning to you, Travis. Go Hawkeyes! Starting to get excited.
Good to have you. Good to have you for sure. And then we got some heavy hitters coming in, some big hitters coming in. I think we had the lead off. Now we're to the middle of the order because Shane's coming in with some big stars. Says, "Good morning, Nick and Scott. Besides QB, what position would you target in free agency or draft? And are there certain players you would want?" The needs. This is going to be like really easy to do Falcons Broncos because the needs match up so obviously, except for maybe the quarterback position that they're like this year.
Yeah.
Right tackle, edge. If I can get one of those two positions, and for the Falcons, I'd say corner also is a huge need. But I need more pass rush from the Broncos, and I need to protect the passer better. So for a premium position, the way it matches up with this draft, I'm looking at if one of those tackles and one of those edge rushers is there, that's my guy. Those are, and it could end up being or a hybrid guy like your Texas A&M kid, Leo.
DeMarvin Leal. Yeah.
He could be there. One of your Mississippi State offensive tackle, Cross, I think is his name. He could end up being there. Carl Loftus could sneak down. Stingley as a corner could end up as a best player available. Could end up, something happen with him. And for my money right now, Kyle Hamilton, the safety, we were just talking about not spending too much. So I don't want to use 3 first-round picks on a safety, but, a top 10 pick on a game changer. Yeah, I'm okay with that because he's playing every single defensive snap. And I think that's kind of what gets into it, Nick. Watching when we talk about linebackers, where you talk about nose guards, it's like, do I want to invest that much in a guy who's only going to be on the field half the time? Is he going to be a 3-down player? Well, yeah, a guy like Kyle Hamilton will be, so you're certainly getting more value.
Yeah, and I love Caden Stearns for the Broncos. No doubt about it. I think you'd be fine with starting him next year or even bringing back Kareem Jackson for cheap. But neither of those guys, even if you already have both those guys on the roster, I don't give a bleep that they're already there. If Kyle Hamilton's staring you in the face, he changes what you can do defensively on the back end. So I don't even care. The team draft good players. You don't need to look at sometimes you just need to look. It's as simple as throwing away the depth chart and looking at what's in front of you. And if you have a chance at Kyle Hamilton, what you could do in the back end, especially with teams using safeties in the run fits more than we've seen in a long time, spinning those safeties down, his ability to play the slot, to play the box, to play single high, to play two high, and also a heat-seeking missile in the RPO pass game coming from the opposite side of the field. So important in today's NFL. You don't overthink it. Kyle Hamilton is again, I'm coming back for the Pokemon reference, everyone. You have sorry. If Justin Simmons is like the Pikachu prospect version to Kyle Hamilton's Radichu. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Either way, he's
helping yourself with this.
He's
one,
bigger.
Nick.
He's bigger, faster, stronger, and a better prospect in Justin Simmons, and very similar, but just kind of you turned up the sliders in Madden 5 points in every single field. Maybe that's more in your way.
But, I know what that means. Yeah. I do that in FIFA.
Yep. Hey, oh man, Justin Simmons is a 90 speed. Kyle Hamilton's a 95. Justin Simmons is a 90 awareness. Kyle Hamilton's a 95. So he's special, man. I love him.
But the quick answer to this question, Shane, for me is edge and tackle. And if I have asking, grade Peyton, my two questions would be, did you try and go after another quarterback? And I think you probably did. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's expensive, and guys that have them don't want to give them up. So did you try and go after another quarterback? If you didn't like Justin Fields or Mac Jones, okay. You hit on your draft pick there. But my bigger question, my biggest concern, and if I'm giving grades, is couldn't you have done better at right tackle for this team with the cap room that you had available? Even overpaying a guy for 1 year, you come in and pay him a 50% increase. Wasn't there somebody else out there that you could have done better for at right tackle? That's where I think the two places you need to address in free agency and draft: right tackle and edge rusher.
Yeah. You're right. And this last offseason was kind of tough because they did have Juwan James under contract for a big money.
Right.
And then he got injured right after the draft, which is
you got a full refund. So you didn't necessarily need him in the draft, but it just felt like there were guys out there in free agency that you could have, you overspend. You overspend on a 1-year deal. It's like, listen, this guy's offering you 20 for 10. I'm going to give you 15 for 1. Mm-hmm. And just come play here and then go get 10 next year and you end up with 25. But it just seems to me, and I'll say full disclosure, I don't know that the answer is yes, you should have gone after this guy, and this guy. It just seems like you could have done better with all that money you had that's just sitting, unused right now under the cap, that you could have done better at right tackle. And now it's time. Now it's time. I mentioned the heavy hitters coming in. Joe has been swinging for the fences all month as we've finished up December here. And what's cool is Joe came in on YouTube on our channel yesterday and was a contributor on YouTube. So going the extra mile, not just contributor, but going the extra mile to make sure that he's able to contribute, because I can't accept stars on my channel yet because I don't have a big enough a Facebook following. So appreciate you, Joe. Good morning, all. My hopes to end the season is we lose to the Chargers for the draft pick, and then I hope we beat the dog out of the Chiefs. It's unlikely, but crazier things have happened. So while I was waiting for this to come up, I looked up the playoff standings. The Chiefs have a 1-game lead on the Titans and a 2-game lead on anybody else. So they could probably sew up home field advantage this weekend, the number 1 seed this weekend. I don't know that for sure, but it seems like with their strength of schedule, their division record is 4-1, their conference is 6-4. Their strength of schedule is way out of sight compared. I would think that should be a first tiebreaker in reverse. Because if you've got a lower strength of schedule, they give you a higher draft pick. Well, if you've got a higher strength of schedule and you're tied, that should count in your favor going towards the playoffs. So if Kansas City could sew up a number 1 this weekend, maybe at home you go out and you lay it to the Chiefs with a bunch of reserves, and you don't care. You don't care if it's a bunch of reserves that are out there and the rest and starters. When you look at the end of the day and you're looking back in history and you see the score, you say, yeah, we hung 40 on them that day, and you're pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I'm using the playoff machine right now, and if the Chiefs, even if the Titans and the Patriots lose this week and the Chiefs win, if the Titans beat the Texans week 18, then it looks like the Titans will get the number 1 seed based on the tiebreakers. Just messing with the playoff machine right now, so we'll see. But the Chiefs could fall if they fall to the 2nd seed. So I guess the Titans have the tiebreaker if they have the same
Titans
record.
lose and the Chiefs win, then it's sewn up for sure because they'd have a 2-game lead with 1 to play.
Let me look at this.
The Chiefs are 11-4 right now, and the Titans are 10-5.
Huh. Okay, I have the Titans at. I'm messing with the playoff machine. It doesn't look like it's that way, but we'll see.
I'm just looking at standings.
Yeah. Okay.
So I trust ESPN more than something called playoff machine. No, I'm just
okay, so this was the Chiefs. Do the Chiefs and the Titans have the same record right now?
No. Chiefs are 11-4. Titans are 10-5.
So if the Titans,
unless I'm on the wrong year.
No, yeah. So if the Titans, so the thing was, if the Titans win this week and the Chiefs win this week, then the Chiefs have to win week 18.
Okay, so they
can end up with the same record
sure with a win.
Yes.
Okay.
If the Titans lose and the Chiefs win, then the Chiefs will definitely sew it up. But if they have the same record,
sew it up. But they've got the Dolphins, and I guarantee you the Dolphins are going to give it their best shot. They've won 7 in a row, so that might actually be a pretty good game. The Titans have had the second easiest or one of the easiest schedules in football, and the Dolphins are playing pretty good football right now. Like I said, their strength of schedule hasn't been great, but I don't care. You win 7 in a row in the NFL, you've earned it. You've earned it.
Yeah. No, just messing with the playoff machine though. If they both finish 12-5, then it looks like the Titans would get the 1 seed. But I think the Titans game is probably going to happen a time slot earlier than the Chiefs game, so we might really know like right before kickoff what the implications are.
And Joe, I didn't actually realize. Looking out of the corner of my eye, I just saw the 500 stars. There's actually another 0 on there, so that was 5,000 stars coming in. So, like I said, hitting cleanup. Shane doubled in everybody, hit the double, and then Joe just cleared the fences with a home run. I like baseball. I love baseball.
And I was getting a little bit of crap for my Pokemon reference there. How about another different, easier video game reference? Justin Simmons has played Xbox, the first Xbox, and then Kyle Hamilton's Xbox 360. Just as a prospect, he's just a little bit bigger, faster, stronger than Simmons. There's a reason Simmons fell to the compensatory 3rd-round pick. Kyle Hamilton is similar, but a little bit higher than all of them.
Well, and Joe wasn't done either. So, and Ethan coming in also. So, getting towards the end of the year, happy holidays, everybody. Certainly appreciate the show. With your support, this has become, we're on more than everybody, but even on a per show basis, this has become the number 2 show on Mile High Huddle. So, it's because of you. So we certainly appreciate you being here. DWI guy says, I want Aaron Rodgers, but getting Hackett would be a welcome change at head coach. I worry. I don't know much about him. I worry. What's Hackett like? Is Hackett another Josh McDaniels?
Don't know.
You know, who you're playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback, and all of a sudden, I watched Charlie Weiss come out of there. An arrogant a-hole who flopped, going everywhere, but ran his mouth like he was God. I watched Josh McDaniels, a younger version, do just about the same thing. So I don't know. I hate to paint that brush on Hackett because I don't know. What I do know is if you're an offensive coordinator with Aaron Rodgers, you're going to look good. He's going to make you look good. So what are his bona fides? Is he legit? I'd be interested in the interview. Is he humble? Where has he had success before? I mean, you don't get that job unless you've had some success. So getting Aaron Rodgers that'd be great. And who do you want? You can have your brother-in-law as offensive coordinator for all I care, Aaron.
Yeah.
But if you can't get him, would Hackett be the next best thing to tune things up? Right now, I almost feel like you can't do much worse than what we see out of the offense for Denver. Everything looks, You ever watch a basketball game where you're in a half-court offense and it feels like you need every single second of the shot clock to make a tough shot, and then
Yep.
the other team just fast breaks and just gets a layup, and you're like, God bless.
We're just outmanned. Yep. Yeah.
That's how it feels watching the Broncos. It feels like everything is just so hard to do. Then I watch everybody else, and they get wide open crossing routes and open up running lanes, and it's offensive football right now, and you're offensive.
Yeah. To be fair, this is a weird trend across the league, but we have like the lowest average top DVOA passing offense in the league in the last 20 years. Offenses are scoring less across the entire NFL. And passing metrics are down across the NFL, which is one reason that I think that Teddy Bridgewater's statistics are league average. How is that possible? It's because passing across the NFL is poor, and that's probably can be explained. Patrick Mahomes has regressed statistically. Josh Allen has regressed statistically. Lamar Jackson has regressed statistically. Baker Mayfield has regressed statistically. There's even more. Lamar Jackson has regressed statistically, and then these rookie classes struggling as well for the most part. So passing metrics across the league, even if Teddy is on the whole, probably a borderline spot gap starter. This year, he's league average starting wise, statistically speaking. So
he's one of the few that's having a better year.
Yep, Broncos actually have gotten
history.
Yeah, it's weird. The Broncos, if we were using like standard deviations, the Broncos' improvements on offense this year would look even bigger because of the trends across the league have regressed massively. The other way, it's the first time in a while that we've seen that actually happen in the league, and I mean, when you have Josh Allen putting up 6 points against the Jags, and you have Tom Brady putting up 0, 3
Yeah,
against
get
the
shut
Saints,
out by the Saints.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's going to look like. Joe coming in here. I'm not an expert on the coaches in the league, but I want George Payton to take his time and not select a guy just because of history with him, like Zimmer. Step 1 is fire Fangio. As long as Payton completes step 1, I believe we'll figure out a good coach for us. Yeah, one day at a time. I'm just still. It sounds like there's still a possibility that Fangio could be back. So I'm going to see what these next 2 weeks look like, and also enjoy these next 2 weeks. I have a hard time with evaluating coaches because they don't have the tape. I'm a Jimmy and Joe's believer, a personnel believer versus the scheme and the player. Obviously, there is an extent where that matters, but most coaches are only as good as their players. So I hope that they get the right guy in there, but it's more about empowering the right guys around you.
Yeah, I think with and this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of pro Dan Quinn is because do the guys want to play for him? Again, I'll throw it back to baseball. A baseball manager doesn't really, especially in the American League with the DH, doesn't really have that much to do except to manage the clubhouse, to keep everybody on an even keel. And do they want to play for him or not?
Yeah.
I don't know that Vic Fangio is the most inspiring guy in the world. These guys are professionals. They're going to go out and do a job, but it doesn't seem like this isn't a guy, say, oh, yeah, we really wanted to win this one for Vic. You don't see that happen like Andy Reid, some of the longtime guys. Andy Reid's getting congratulations from guys that aren't even on his team anymore. And that kind of stuff is it comes down to, for me, the coaching comes to the coordinator. So in that sense, then Vic is a good defensive coordinator. So you've got your good defensive coordinator there, but you've missed on the offensive coordinator. So in most times, you're going to have one or the other. So how well does he do with his hire in his non-specialty? So in Vic's case, on the offensive side of the ball, we'd say probably hasn't done that well. So getting back to this, for the general manager, his number one job is to make sure that he's got the right coaches in place. That's his number one job, the number one job. And I'm kind of with you on this. As long as he realizes that he doesn't have the guy, then then you feel like he's doing his number one job. And Joe, again, thank you for the stars, my friend. Certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, goodness gracious. Joe and Ethan, the MVPs. It's going to be interesting to see which of those guys pulls ahead for the MVP for this month. But thank you guys so much. We haven't even talked any Chargers because we've just been looking at looking ahead, looking well beyond, looking at the draft and everything. Thank you, Peter. 4,000. Yeah. 0-0-0. Any thoughts on this Chargers game for the Broncos? Chargers obviously coming off a dreadful loss against the Houston Davis Mills, where Justin Herbert did not look amazing, but I'll tell you, people trying to pile on Justin Herbert in that game, it's the defense. Their defense has been dreadful. Outside of Derwin James and Joey Bosa, I don't really like any of their pieces on the defensive side of the ball for them. So any thoughts?
For me, that was going back to the defense was the running game. I mean, my thoughts on this is Denver should bully this team in the trenches. which we haven't typically seen. They were doing a much better job running the ball until they ran and stopped running the ball against, 8 yards from your running backs against the Raiders. That's almost statistically impossible. I mean, it really is. That's almost statistically impossible. So if you throw that game out, we know the Denver Broncos can run the ball. We know the Raiders or the Chargers can't stop the run. Man, run it at them. Run it again. If you're going to be boring by running it down their throats. When I was a kid, I hated 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Now I call it 3 yards in a cloud of rubber pellets. But I hated it as a kid. As I got older and appreciated the physical battles and the mano-a-mano in the trenches, I love 3 yards in a cloud of rubber pellets. If they stuff you, run it again. Run it again and again and again. And keep after them. I don't think they can stop you. You give the ball to Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams 45 times, you should have 200 yards of rushing. And I don't care if it ends up being 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, 40 yards. Go after them, stay after them, and you can win this game.
Yeah, they need to be, I've said it all season, almost defiant in the face of it. And it's to protect the quarterback as much as anything. I think if you, especially with Joey Bosa against Bobby Massey, unfortunately, maybe we'll see a Teddy Bridgewater's play of the year was the stiff arm touchdown for, with Joey Bosa involved. And maybe we'll get one of those with Drew Lock. But if Drew Lock throws it over 25 times in this game, something probably went wrong. Did I not mention Derwin James as well? Bosa and Derwin James are the two building blocks on the defense. I thought I said Derwin James too. Excuse me. I love Derwin. Always stand him.
Right, you did.
I did. Okay. No. Yeah. I love Bosa and Derwin.
Now was Bosa playing in this game because he didn't play against the Texans?
I think he's expected to play.
Okay,
but
that was again. I know I should probably know this better, but I don't follow the Chargers on a daily basis. I'm like, all right, is he there or not? If he didn't play, why didn't he play? Drew Tranquill had a good game. And my boy Braden Fajoko, I went to Hawaii and watched him play and made him a 5-star. That was kind of fun. He had a solid game, but I did notice Tranquill out there. But what I did notice was Royce Freeman and Rex Burkhead running wild, just running wild. They're getting 6 yards for they're getting touched, just massive openings on the interior line.
Yeah. And I have the information here from yesterday. Bosa was on the sick list, along with I think number 1 rated center in football right now, if not number 1, number 2, and Corey Linsley. So that's unfortunate for Denver in that regard because the Broncos have been getting whipped, running between the A gaps this season. I think their average line adjusted yards is like 27th in the NFL this season, which is terrible from that defensive line. They're just getting whipped back. And it's also really sad. My Draymond Jones propaganda is kind of the sun is setting there because I don't know if you went back and watched the Broncos game with the all 22s out, but Draymond is out there playing on one leg. That foot injury is not right. No way about it. Honestly, I would shut him down for the season. There's no reason to put him out there if he's just going to get whipped and hurt his value. And you probably want to see McTelvin Najim out there. You probably want to see some of those depth guys because you're playing for pride and evaluation at this point versus the playoffs. So shut Draymond down. I don't protect him. But Bosa and Linsley should be back. Kenneth Murray, we were talking smack about him earlier. Kenneth Murray is now on the list as well as Storm Norton. So hopefully we'll see the Broncos take advantage of the right tackle and the linebacker core for the Chargers.
And Shane coming back in and says, I'm all for retread coaches like Doug Peterson, Todd Bowles, Dan Quinn, etc. Some of the best coaches were retreads like Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Mike Shanahan, Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, most of the time I've used this line before. I said, being a coach in the college or NFL is almost like being a made man in the mafia. They just keep recycling them. Some of them are good. They keep getting jobs, and some of them aren't. And some, Andy Reid, we know that guy can coach. That was a good move. Dan Quinn, like I've said, it's not easy to have even a 500 record in Atlanta. We're not talking about the Denver Broncos here. A 500 record across 6 years puts you in elite company among Atlanta coaches. Todd Bowles, and you mentioned Doug Peterson, and thank you. You're the second person I've seen spell his name right. If he comes to Denver, we're going to have to learn how to spell his name. I don't know enough about him other than, he had a good run with the Eagles and won a Super Bowl. How long was he there? Did he have good Super Bowl? I mean, I know that's good, but I always think of Larry Coker with Miami, the Miami Hurricanes. That's a little bit old for you, Nick.
No, I remember
Coker won a national championship with the Miami Hurricanes with someone else's team and then fell flat on his face.
I remember Coker.
So it was a sample size there. So, yeah, he won a Super Bowl. Okay, but did he lead that team, or was he just kind of right place, right time? I don't know. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't disqualify somebody like that. You just don't want to see the same boring coach, so a non-inspired one.
I was screaming from the top. Speaking of screaming, Ethan screaming in here, red plopping, $100 DWI guys. Ethan, thank you so much. The last Broncos for Breakfast show of 2021. Thanks all for the good content. Happy New Year's to everyone. Happy New Year's to you, Ethan. Happy New Year's to everybody supporting the show. Man, you guys are amazing, and thank you so much for the constant support. And I've just a trip down memory lane here. I think it was Chad came to me and said, I got this buddy Scott. He helped me get in the business, been with me for a while, and he's kind of interested in the live streaming aspect. Are you able to do a morning show? I'm like, well, if I can do it at 6:30 a.m. so I can still get to work after that, I'm in. What is the viability for a morning show? We're going to find out. And Scott and I just kind of dipped our toe in the water leading to the draft season, which was, talk about specific one single team for draft season. That's about as niche as it gets. But I guess we just kept putting out solid content, more so with Scott than myself. I'm Pokemon references here. I guess it's over everybody's head. I don't even play Pokemon anymore. I don't know why I go to that. It's just because I think of the evolutionary track.
I'm not afraid to say Albert Okawebanam anymore.
Ooh,
I was terrified in June.
Well, there you go. There's more names coming.
I can spit out these names now.
McTelvin,
it was Nick couldn't have done this without Nick. Wouldn't want to do it without Nick. So it was, I know football, I know personnel, and I just needed the time to get up to speed with the Denver Broncos, and y'all showed me the patience to help me do that as well. And I think this is a pretty good team.
Yeah, thank you. But again, we're patting ourselves on the back right now. It's you guys. You guys showed up in the morning for these morning shows and support us and keep the content churning. So we appreciate the heck out of you for that. But thank you so much, DWI guys. Back to the Doug Peterson comment. I don't know. You were not following me. We were not aware of each other back then, but I was screaming after the Eagles Super Bowl, Frank Reich. That was my guy. What he did going from totally scrapping the offense with, and he was the play caller there too, totally scrapping the offense from what they were doing with Carson Wentz, then to Nick Foles, and being that successful with those two quarterbacks. I was like, this guy is brilliant. He matches his scheme to what the personnel does. And we've seen that from Phillip Rivers to Carson Wentz this season. So I have loved Frank Reich forever. That makes me a little bit skeptical of Doug Peterson because I put more credit on Reich for the offense there than I do Doug Peterson. But Peterson's stable. Peterson, by all accounts, is a well-liked guy in those locker rooms. I don't know if you've seen the videos of him in when he's talking to the players or anybody. He's like, he ends it. Okay, let's go get ice cream. They always have ice cream in the back after his meetings are wrapped up.
Oh man, I'm a grown man. I'm well past 40. And you got me there. Yes.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
He is all about.
I ring that bell. I still act like Eddie Murphy, ice cream. Yeah, I'm good.
I'll have to send you the clip because somebody compiled the one where he's like every single meeting. It's like, let's go get ice cream. Bring in the ice cream, boys.
I bet there's a roar.
Oh yeah. It's a good time. So I would be here for that content in general. Be great. We got Trevor coming in here too. Nick and Scott, do you guys think there's anything Locke can do in these last two games to have the team run it back with him next year? I'm honestly hoping for all new quarterbacks. We have seen what these quarterbacks are and need some new vibes in Broncos country. Thanks, guys. I think worst case,
here, Trevor.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. Worst case scenario for the Broncos, in general, would be, and it's not terrible, but let's say you miss out on Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. You don't really fall in love with any of the quarterbacks in this draft class, and you can't even. I'm okay. Some of the people aren't, but I'm okay even bringing in a Kirk Cousins or a Matt Ryan if you can renegotiate the contract, lower the cap hit, so you can build around them a bit and not give up too much draft capital for them. Sorry, Scott, for the Falcons there. But worst case would be doing a similar situation that we had this year, where it's a Teddy equivalent, someone like a Marcus Mariota, a Tyrod Taylor, and an Andy Dalton versus Drew Lock in the camp battle. Best guy win. To me, that is just, you were stopgapping again. At least it's short term. That's again a 1 year situation, which is not ideal, but at least it's not long term. But I think that's the only way I see Drew Lock being back viable as a starter.
Yeah, and for me, is there a way he can do this? You want him to go out, and I don't know that I want it in the chat There's a couple in the evening show that just drive me bonkers with their delusion when it comes to this quarterback stuff. But you want Drew Lock to go out there and just kill it. Just kill it. At the very least, I mentioned, I'll bring it back to Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater was a $6 million quarterback. He was a $7 million quarterback. He had a nice 5-0 or a 4-1 or something like that run with the Saints under Sean Payton. And then the Carolina Panthers went out and lost their minds. They lost their minds. Gave him 3 years, $66 million. Matt Flynn goes out and throws 6 touchdown passes. And the Seattle Seahawks go out and lose their minds. Scott Mitchell, way back when, I don't remember who it was. It may have been Ethan that brought that up. I think I called him Scott McDonald's. But Scott Mitchell goes out and backs up Dan Marino, goes out and has a couple decent games, and the Detroit Lions lose their minds. People get crazy when it comes to quarterbacks. How else do you say Christian Ponder was a number 1 draft pick? Sam Darnold, you're trading 3 number 2s to draft him. People do stupid stuff.
I got another one for you. Stupid stuff at quarterback. Kevin Cobb. The
I don't
Eagles.
even know who that is.
Okay, he was a quarterback. He went to where do you play school? I want to say he played at Houston, and he did really good for the Eagles for like a couple seasons. And then the Cardinals traded Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie and a 2nd-round pick for Kevin Cobb, who was awful then for the Cardinals after that.
But you get a nice small sample size of Drew Lock playing well, and at the
Brock
very
Osweiler.
least, maybe you get somebody to do something stupid. At the very best, maybe he becomes a guy you can keep next year. Do you keep him next year? Yeah, we went through this at the beginning of the show. I still think he's cheap. He's cheap, and he's a serviceable backup. You could certainly do a lot worse. Josh Rosen's a backup for the Atlanta Falcons, and he's worse than Drew Lock, and he had a higher grade, higher draft, and all that type of stuff, was more expensive. So, yeah, a serviceable backup. Now, again, if Drew Lock goes through the competition and he gets a fresh start with a new coach, new offensive coordinator, and goes through the competition and does not win a starting job with whoever he's going against and requests a trade, I think you acquiesce and say, yeah, I think we can. So you do right by him as long as he's being a good professional. Ethan says he comes in. Remember that stand-up talking about Eddie Murphy and ice cream? I was raised by like Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and Bill Cosby and Gallagher. I watched and listened to all of those all the time. My wife used to think I was pretty funny until I played Eddie Murphy Delirious for her, and it's like, oh, this is where you get all your material. Yeah, I do. So, yeah, good stuff. Ice cream.
I'll have to send you that clip. It's a good time. Another one, the other guy, I can't believe we haven't mentioned that. Brock Osweiler getting a massive contract from the Texans to the extent where he was so detrimental to their cap and poor that the Texans had to trade a 2nd-round pick for a team to eat his salary.
People, I mean, you see one game. You see, Drew Lock comes out and doesn't screw up last week. And all of a sudden we got hot takes galore of, see, made the wrong choice. See, he's a good quarterback. It's like, it's one game. So general managers aren't immune from that either. Go put 3 good games on tape. Now go throw some touchdowns. Now actually go get your team in the end zone.
The Drew Lock experience.
You could get something, some draft capital that you could spin back around or package away. And yeah, you want him to be a viable asset for sure. So could he be back? Maybe. Could he elevate his draft position? Yes, he could. Absolutely.
Yeah. But there's no way in heck that you can come away this offseason with him being listed as number 1 on the depth chart for the quarterback position for 2022. If you did that, it's a failure for the offseason. You just can't do that. And just like you shouldn't bury the offensive line for having a bad game against Vegas this week compared to the relative sample size, you got to trust the overall sample size for Drew Lock in his career being indicative. Maybe it turns around, maybe it doesn't, but the best informer of the future is the past. So we will see what happens. And yeah, Drew had a good game. Let's see if he can stack another one. And I'm pulling for him because he's always come across as a dude who I would love nothing more than to go on a fishing trip with Drew Lock. He seems like a heck of a fun dude, and we'd have a blast. So that I'm pulling for him.
And Travis coming in with some stars saying, just ready for our Broncos to get back to winning and being on top. Whatever we need to do, get that done. Just saying, that's it. Just whatever it takes, just do it. It's that easy.
Do it. Have you seen the Shia LaBeouf?
For Broncos fans, it probably has felt that easy. It probably has. I kind of joke behind the scenes that y'all are spoiled.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
went 40 years without back-to-back winning seasons as an Atlanta sports fan. It's tough.
Yep.
It's tough when you're used to, what's going back to Eddie Murphy and trading places. How do you hurt rich people? Turn them into poor people. That's what seems. Y'all were rich. You don't like being down here with the rest of us. That's how you end up hurting them. Not just
Yep.
beating them, but bringing them down a couple notches. So I think all the right pieces are in place. They really are. I'm certainly excited about this offseason. And again, it's Christmas. We're excited. And if going back to the very beginning of the show, if you don't change your head coach and you don't bring in another quarterback, you killed it. You killed us. You just sucked the hope right away from us. And you're already looking at 15,000 empty seats in the stadium. You can't do that. There's got to be a change. Like I said, that speaks more than anybody on Twitter, any podcast, any of this noise. Empty seats speaks more loudly than any of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, I don't know if there are any more super chats or superstars coming in, but we got to start getting the read out of here. I got to shovel out my car. I'm out in Seattle and we're just getting dumped on in snow, but it's above freezing finally for the first time in like 200 hours. So that's great. Travis, great show, Nick and Scott. Glad I was able to catch Broncos for breakfast. Wishing everyone and our Broncos a prosperous 2022. Also, Shane coming in. Thanks all for the great shows this year. The reason you guys have vaulted the number 2 show is because you are reasonable in your takes. You bring fresh perspective to the Broncos that isn't rooted in major bias, and you're great at interacting with the chat without seeming dismissive of the opinions. Hope the show continues for a long time. Shane, that's a really nice comment, and a nice comment from both you guys. Just try to be. I'm a skeptic at heart. I'm not from Missouri, but my family originates from Missouri, and that's probably why I'm very much the show me kind of guy. You got to show me to prove it. But thank you guys so much. We appreciate it, and must be doing something right around here because you guys keep coming back and supporting us. So we appreciate you. I'm still just very thankful and amazed that this show and the platform in general has turned into what it is, and you guys keep showing up. And my wife is appreciative too, because otherwise I'd be talking her ear off about this football stuff, and I'd probably be dead. She probably would have killed me.
You're used to this look.
Oh, I don't even get that
the
anymore.
Glazed over look and you shake your head. Thank you for at least pretending to listen. I love you for that.
I don't get that. I get why don't you go live stream? That's okay. God, thank you guys so much. We appreciate the heck out of you. You make sure you're following Scott and us on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy, and I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are on Facebook, make sure you're joining us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and /Mile High Huddle Pod. Again, go to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a review. If you are on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, get a YouTube account and then go to Mile High Huddle, subscribe, like, and share, hit that bell notification, leave comments on the show. It's after the fact. We'd really appreciate that. Also go to Scott's channel at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy, where I think we're really going to be getting into the nitty gritty draft stuff there.
Yep. And this is the last Broncos for Breakfast show of the year. I think we cranked this up in April. So we went at it for about 9 months. All through April through the end of the year, and we will be back on Monday, January 3rd, 2022, and we'll find out. Actually, I never gave a prediction.
Yeah, let's get a prediction.
I'm going with the Chargers on this. I think they want it more. I think their defense will step up a little better, and I don't think you can stop their offense enough. So 27-24 Chargers. I don't like it. Don't bet it. I'll tell you when to bet it. Don't bet this one. I don't like the over-under. I don't like the line. I don't like any of it. I don't like the money lines. I don't feel good about it, but if you're going to make me give you a prediction, I'm going to go with the Chargers.
I'm never going to tell anybody to cheer against the Broncos because I think that's a little scuzzy, and I hate gatekeeping fans. If you want to cheer against the Broncos for draft position, God bless you. That's your right as a fan. Maybe that's where I'm at in my heart of hearts, because the Broncos right now, it's going to be hard for them to climb up the draft order at all, because there's only one team with 6 wins in the NFL, despite the throngs of teams with 7 and 8 wins. So it'll be hard for the Broncos to move up above those 5-win teams, because they'd have to win 2 games and the Broncos lose 2. Doesn't seem super probable. But if the Broncos win, they are going to plummet down the draft order. You're talking about going from pick 11 to like pick 18, which is pretty. And it's not just in the first round. Then it's all those other picks as well. So hoping the Broncos maybe have a good game, but still end up losing to the Chargers. Maybe that's best case scenario. But
Colin,
we'll see.
It's funny because it's true. I mean, the best comedy is, so the best jokes have a hint of truth in them.
Yeah.
So He says 24 points. That's like 3 games of offense for us. Well, you're going against the 31 ranked defense in points allowed. So I think you can get in the 20s. I'm not going to go so far as to say the 30s, but I think you can get into the 20s against this defense. I just don't know that you can stop them. I don't know. It's good offense these days beats good defense a lot of times. And if they're on and they've got a lot of incentive, they're going to want it more. You're going to get the best shot from the Chargers this week.
Especially with how you embarrassed him last time. And it's Brandon Staley again coming up against his mentor. So it'll be an interesting game. I'm really curious to see what Drew Lock shows up. Honestly, as much as it'll be to the chagrin of many people, if I'm fine with him coming out there and doing another Vegas performance where it's just like, Drew, just run the offense, protect the football. On paper, that should be enough to win. It should have been enough to win last week too. It wasn't. But this Chargers team, they can't run the football. They can't stop the run. It should match up better on paper, but we'll see. Thank you guys so much. We're going to get on out of here. I got to go shovel out. I said, oh, Scott, let's do a 45-minute show. But the Supers were just too hot. You guys are too, I can't go away when you guys are coming in like that. So we'll stick around as long as that takes. We appreciate you. I will be back Saturday night. We're going to have a show tonight with Chad and today's Thursday, right? Yeah, Chad and Zach tonight with Huddle Up. Make sure you're tuning in. And we will see you. Scott and I will see you guys next year. But until then, stay safe, choose kindness and choose compassion. Go Broncos.